And what he said, which I thought was a great, excellent idea, was instead of using his regular backup singers, he used the mighty Temptations. Ooh, down to her feet. Ow!
Can't do it like me.
I had a conversation with one of my very good supporters. I'm not going to mention her name, but she's one of my very good supporters in regards to my book recaps. And she had mentioned to me that maybe I should do Patreon. Now, I wasn't trying to do it because I was hoping that I would be more successful here on YouTube, but that's not the case. Okay, so I'm not saying I'm doing it right now, but I'm going to take a page out of Forest Rock's books and eventually put my book recaps over on Patreon. Now, I have Patreon loves already, but you can donate monthly $1 if you want to, but in order to be privy to the book recaps, you need to be at a minimum of $5 supporter. I'm not saying that it's going to happen right now or within the next 2 months. I'm just saying that I'm not really benefiting at all from doing these book recaps. And I'm telling you guys, that's my refrigerator. It's always signifying. But I'm telling you guys, it's hard work to read these books and then take notes and then figure out how I'm going to be funny and, it's just hard work, and I really do appreciate your support here on YouTube, but unfortunately, it's not financially beneficial to me, so I will eventually be putting them on Patreon. Hello, lovers. If you have not already done so, please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe because it is so important to my success here on the YouTube. Now, let's talk about Rickety James Glow recap part, I think it's 15. Rickety James says that he fired it up in 2 days. He had so much creative juices going, baby, that he ended up writing music for the Stone City Band. Okay, the problem was when he was writing this music that the lead singer of the Stone City Band was named Levi Ruffin. Y'all just know that. I already broke that down to you. But Levi Ruffin sounded just like Rickety James in the studio. So people was confused about who was singing what. Rickety James was like, okay, it was an annoyance to the DJs, but at the same time, it was all good for him because his work was successful. Now let's get back to Princey Pooh. Okay, now the thing about Princey Pooh was that Rickety James said he never heard of Prince until he heard that song, I Want to Be Your Lover. He saw him on videotape and he was actually impressed. And what Rickety James heard was that Prince actually was influenced by Rick James and his music. So, with a good heart, Rickety James was like, let me help the brother out. Let me put him on my Fired Up tour. Now, this is the first confrontation. Yes, this is how Rickety James describes it. A confrontation. So, they on tour, right? And Rickety James is still amazed at how little Prince is. I'm saying to myself, well, how tall is Rickety James? But anyway, he's amazed, right? Now he feels like, okay, Princey Pooh, you on the Rickety James tour. Okay, first thing you need to do is come to my dressing room and say, thank you, brother. Thank you for giving me an opportunity. He said Princey Pooh never did that, right? So moving on to a couple of hours before they were supposed to hit the stage, Princey Pooh was on stage in front of his drums doing his thing. Rickety James, because he is an asshole. I told you the Aquarius period is an asshole for sport. Okay. What Rickety James did was like, oh, I think the little man is thinking he's doing something. Let me show him otherwise. So what Rickety James did was he went and sat down at his drummers, set, because they was all set up too. And he showed Princey Pooh what for. Prince was so bad in his feelings that all little man could do was get up and walk off. Listen, I don't have no problems with Prince. I'm just telling you what Rickety James says. Those is his words. Rickety James is calling Prince a little man, not me. I mean, I know he's small, but I don't have no problems with him. Hell, my mother was like, oh, happy birthday, mommy, happy birthday. My mama was like 5'8". And she knew Prince was like 5'1". She still was trying to find that nigga and crawl all over top of him. So Rick James was curious about Prince while he was on stage, okay? And let me tell you, Rick James, you will ruin a motherfucker's dream. You hear me, Rickety James? You ain't right for this. You ain't right, but let's carry on, right? Because RJ needed more ammunition to make fun of Princey Pooh. What he did one night, during the tour, was he watched in the wings Princey Pooh's show, okay? What he said was that Princey Pooh was lame, okay? And that the crowd was booing him because he was on stage with a pair of bloomers, his words, not mine. I thought they was bikinis, but, he called them bloomers. Bloomers and a trench coat. I didn't know that. I didn't think that. The only time I heard that Prince got booed was down there when he was opening for the Rolling Stones. Now Rickety James is telling us that Prince got booed in his show. Morris Day book didn't say anything about Prince being booed on the Rickety James tour, but I digress. Here go Rickety James, asshole for sport. So here go Rickety James. When he got on stage, he's so full of himself, he like, let me show this little man how to work it. Not my words, his words. Princey Pooh fans, that is not my job to, keep messing with Prince and his, height. I don't have no problems with that man. I told y'all. Happy birthday, mommy. I told y'all. My mother was 5'8", and she knew how tall that little man was. She still wanted to crawl all over him, or have him crawl all over her, whatever the case may be. But anyway, I don't have no problems with Prince. Whenever I'm saying little man, tiny man, big woman, fat woman, well, that is his words. That's not my words. So now, Rickety James, he on stage and he is killing it. And Rickety James says that he has these trademark moves with a mic where, he throwing it up in the air, catching it behind the back. And he said that, Prince was in the wings watching him with seduction in his eyes. Not saying that he was gay, but he was concentrating on Rick and how he was, mesmerizing the crowd with his moves. A week later, his messy ass crew came to him and said, Rickety James, Prince is stealing your mic moves. Rick James was like, what? Lo and behold, when he went out there the next time to watch the show, Mike's in the air, catching behind his back, doing all kinds of shimmies and all kinds of stuff like that. Okay? Rickety James was pissed. Oh, he was pissed. He's like, I'm sick of this little motherfucker. So meanwhile, Prince and his band is still carrying Rick James and his band. Rickety James is like, who this Negro think he is? We need to have a meeting so I can lay down the rules for this motherfucker. So anyway, let me tell you how the meeting went. Rickety James goes, you stealing my shit. Prince go, I don't know what you talking about. Rickety James say, your band think they too good to talk to us. Prince say, my band is here to work. But he like to play a lot of head games, you hear me? But at the end of the meeting, Princey Pooh was like, listen, Mr. Rickety James, this is your tour, and what I will try to do is curtail some of the things that you're concerned with. Wrong. Prince still did everything that he wanted to do, and I'm not surprised. I do. After reading the Morris Day book, I really do believe that he did steal them moves from Rickety James, but Rickety James gets him back later, so just hold on. So here we go. It is February 2nd, 1980, and Rickety James has just turned 31. Now, he having a good time, and he having a party. Okay, but what happened was Prince and his friends came and crashed the party. Rickety James, being an asshole that he is, because I told you them Aquarius are assholes for sport, grabbed Prince by the back of his head. I was like, you grab a man by the back of his head? Okay, all right, I'm gonna leave that dead though. But he grabbed Prince by the back of his head and threw cognac down his throat. What he said was that Prince spat it out and started crying like a little boy. Rickety James, don't you know that man was clean and sober at that time? You can't throw alcohol on a sober man. What you talking about? You can't do things like that. Rickety James called him a pussy. I don't know about that. I mean, he get a lot of pussy, but, I'm going to leave that right there. Now we're going to move on to the next shenanigan, okay? So, because Rickety James felt in his soul that Prince was stealing from him, Rick James, he felt solid in the fact, well, shoot, Prince stealing from me, so I need to steal from Prince. Except for Rick James, Prince ain't slime like you. He ain't slime. Well, I mean, how can I call? Anyway, I'm gonna leave that there. Why, one of their last events together, maybe the last show. I'm not sure. He didn't break it down, but anyway, Prince had old good synthesizer, child, and he was the first one to have it. It was the OBX, child. It was the best of the best. So guess what? Ricky James said, he's stealing from me and took it and left to go to Miami. He said Prince still didn't know that Ricky James stole the synthesizer from him. But anyway, he down there to the Miami now working on new music. So after the tour, he said he was tired and he was beat. Now, Barry D. Gordy is calling him on the phone saying, chop, brother, I'm not paying you to sit around, and do boogity sugar and fuck bitches. That's not what I'm doing. I need you to make an album. Rickety James decided to take a page from Stevie Wonder's, book and tell his ass to wait. But what ended up happening was he ended up working on new music anyway because, he's already down there in Miami vacationing. And what he thought to do was, listen, I'm going to go rip me a good yacht and I'm going to travel all these islands and I'm going to make me good relaxation music and produce my next album. Now, Ricky James believed in the album, but guess who didn't? The billboards. That motherfucker flopped. Flippity, floppity. I think the name of the album was Garden of Love. Garden of Flops. The album did so bad that all the pending tours, the promoters, they canceled. They was like, oh no, Ricky James. Yikes, I ain't fucking with you this time. What happened was, after the flop, he trying to get himself together, okay? Because he has to deal with the fact that, wait a minute, I was on top of the world. I had, top 10 Billboard hits. Now I can't even get one album to chart or one song to chart. He said it was one song that charted from the Garden of Love, but he ain't even write it or produce it. So what ended up happening was, his intention was to go to LA, stop for a second, and then go down to Buffalo, okay? But what ended up happening when he went to LA, he ended up on the host row. And it ignited something in him, not just because the bitches was there like, hi, Rickety. I can't stand a bitch that sing a nigga name. I can't stand that. When people be like, hi, wifey. Don't talk to my wife. Don't sing my wife name, bitch. Don't do that. We don't know you like that. He's down there on the host row, right? He's gaining inspiration for his next album. So what he did was he took that inspiration and he flew back to Buffalo, right? Now, as a result of the beginning of that inspiration with them whores over there on the host row in LA, he decided to go incognito and go back to his old hood to absorb what was happening in the ghetto. What he said was that he could have written street songs in Buffalo, but what he wanted to do was seclude himself from all things that would distract him, right? So what ended up happening was the studio, Motown studio, ended up making him a bedroom in the studio where he locked himself in it, and he put on paper all the things that he felt about the ghetto life, police brutality, sexuality, drugs. This is when he let us know that, okay, yes, I loves me a good powdered donut, and I loves me a good woman too, but I can't do them together because, the pickle capacity is not full. A lot of brothers in the ghetto, and Ricky James, I'm just going to say that this is just you, just not, I don't know, but it's not just limited to the ghetto, just period. A whole bunch of ninjas, period, that do booger, sugar, pickles be broke. I don't care if they black, white, orange, purple, red, blue, whatever they are. I'm sorry, y'all. Some of y'all men be mad about them pickle jokes, but I'm sorry. Here we are, we in the studio, okay, and he is adding the horns to Give It To Me, Baby. Now, while he's in the studio, he got someone in the studio with him, listening to him run off a little riff. She's a very freaky girl, the kind you don't take home to mother. Now, he thought it was corny, right? But the guy that was in the studio with him was like, I think you need to cut that. I think that's a winner right there. You need to do that. And what he said, which I thought was a great, excellent idea, was instead of using his regular backup singers, he used the mighty Temptations. Ooh, down to her feet. Ow! Anyway, one time while he was, not on tour, he was traveling and he came across this beautiful Ethiopian woman. Oh, he loved her. He felt like she was time enough for him. Now, dig this. It's going to be some things said later on that make me feel that he talking about Iman, really. And to me, it seems like the women who he really, really be like spiritually into, he don't really like to talk about their names and who they are for some reason. Remember that girl Perfect? Remember her? The bitch that got missing on his ass when he took her to Canada with $250,000? Now he's talking about Iman, but he speaks up. I'm sorry. It's not Iman. We don't know it's Iman. Okay. I just know that he says she's an Ethiopian model and she is beautiful. Okay. So, But anyway, and especially down in the 80s, it's not a lot of Ethiopian models that were out there at the time. So I'm thinking it's Iman. Now, what he said was that he never hunched her. And Iman, the model was time enough for him, and she knew that it was no way that he could be sexually loyal to her. He said they connected on a different level. What ended up happening was, after they had their non-sexual rendezvous, she left him in Paris with his dick in his hand. Okay. Now, as a result, he came up with Fire and Desire. And I'm saying to myself, see, this is why I hate reading autobiographies sometimes, because you learn the truth. Okay. It broke my heart that he didn't write that song with Tina Marie in mind. And I'm saying to myself, when are you going to admit that you and Tina Marie used to go together? Because I seen the unsung episode, or what was that episode, Afterlife or something like that, where she said she was fucking with you. The thing about it is, when Tina Marie found out that Ricky James was about to hire this other girl to sing the song instead of her, she came down to the studio messed up. He said that she was visibly ill, okay? Ricky James was like, Tina, you don't have to do this. We can get that other girl to do it. Asshole for sport. Tina said, Rick, just play the damn song. So right about now, not only is Ricky James back on top from the flop of Garden Love, but he is the #1 moneymaker for Motown. Oh, he feeling himself, child. Then comes, what's the name of this tour? Funk Fest. With, guess who? His best friend, George Clinton. Oh, that motherfucker had revenge in his eyes. Okay, now, and a couple of other people that he said was on the tour was Bootsy, the Isley Brothers, Maze, and Confunction. Okay, yeah, I'm glad I'm here with you. But that motherfucking George Clinton, oh, he fitting to get it. Now, if you have not already done so, please remember to like, share, and subscribe, because it is so important to my success here on the YouTube. Now, remember this. The same people that you meet on the way up will always be the same people that you meet on the way down. Naysayers, my patron loves. You better have a good one. Deuce. She's a very freaky girl.